But yeah, we got Darren Mars here, PPG Inspectors, 20 years experience. We're excited to get going with him. If anybody has any questions, they can write them below, and let's get it going. So, Darren, tell us, who are you? What do you do? What's a home inspection?
Well, first of all, hey, I'm just excited to be here, guys. To get an opportunity to once again, or even have you guys on my page, it's something I'm excited about, man. You guys are on fire. I'm excited to see what the future brings for you guys, and I just appreciate you inviting me on to share about my industry, which is the home inspection industry. And so I lost that question.
No worries. So tell us a little bit about, who you
okay,
are,
well,
inspections.
2001, I had an appraisal / inspection company is when we first opened up. We ran that until about 2008. The economy did a little something and we couldn't sustain the appraisal side. So we focused all in on the inspection side of it. And since we've done a lot of things, we've got a lot of certifications and we've learned a lot. And we're just excited to help people make buying decisions when they finally see the home that they dream that they would buy one day.
Yeah.
So what made you get into it to start, Darren? Were you always a handy guy working around the house, or what made you want to help people find out about homes for the bottom?
Well, one of the first jobs I ever had, Devin, was it was demolition, very hard work. And then that kind of propelled me into the carpentry industry, construction, where I was a general framer. Then I took a turn and went to the Navy, and I ran a store. And then I went to UPS. But I really enjoyed the construction piece of it. I really enjoyed that. Everything else seemed like a job to me. So my brother, he actually ran several companies dealing with real estate. He had every kind of company there is. And one day I was just tired of what I was doing. I said, hey, if you was to pick one of these industries to get into, if it was only going to be one, which one would it be? He said, man, I would probably really enjoy just doing inspections. And so I went for it. I got certified in it. And enjoyed that process. That was an easy process for me to get certified. It was hard to get the business though. So my brother actually hired me on in his company. I quickly became his best inspector. But in the meantime, I started growing my own thing. And then finally, it was able to support itself, and I was able to just focus in on appraisals and inspections. The appraisal I already had my appraisal license, but man, I just didn't want to stay in that industry on that side of it. Inspections it's more of an opportunity to really have high integrity, and it only has to do with you. On the appraisal side, it's a lot of people putting pressure on you when it comes to that. At least then. Now you can't do it. But back then, people would put pressure on you to, and you really didn't have anything to do with that value, but people think that as an appraiser, you could set the price for this house.
Right. Well,
so that was just stressful part.
I want to go back a little bit. So you said that it was easy for you to get the certification. So when people are looking to buy a house and they're trying to pick a home inspector, how do they find one? How do you recommend? Are there certain certifications that you have to have in California? I mean, we're based in Los Angeles. I know you know LA, surrounding here.
Well, that's a great question. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't ask. There's not many. In California, you don't need a certification. You don't need a license. Anyone could decide they want to inspect the home, but they learn real quickly that if they don't know what they're doing, they'll be sitting in front of the judge. So a lot of people, once they realize that, you know what, it's kind of easy to pick up that check in the beginning if you could fool somebody, and people do it in this industry, and they do it all the time. And so a lot of people don't understand, since they don't have to be certified, no one really asks the inspector, are you certified when they show up? I think they just assume that they are. I really don't know. But there's plenty of inspectors that are not certified that work in this industry because they're not required to be.
Is there a way that people who are looking at home can like see a list of the businesses that are certified, or do you think it would be listed on like a site like Yelp or Angie's List or anything like that?
No, see, because it just depends on what you could go to a certain certification board and look for an inspector. What I would recommend is, I mean, it's going to sound like I'm trying to push something, but the best source is the agent. The best source for almost all those services is a real estate agent. A lot of times people want to take it upon themselves to try to find their own inspector, but from my perspective, the real estate agent has seen plenty of inspectors at work, and once they could actually evaluate the right inspector. And so if you're a homeowner and you do it on your own and you go to a place like Yelp and look at those reviews, or Google and look at the reviews, that's a good source. But I don't think you're going to have a better source than the agent.
Wow.
The agent always has they're going to have a bucket list of people that they know, that they trust, that's going to do a good job.
I'm surprised that there's not, because I know you do ongoing continuing education for your craft, right? You've told me before during inspections, just to let everybody know out there, like Darren has helped a number of our buyers who are very happy with his work. But you do continuing education and certification courses, correct? Like to keep up your education?
Yeah. So I'm certified in several areas. My next certification after being certified home inspector, I became certified mold inspector. And then after doing a lot of mold evaluations, I was getting the same questions. The mold remediator want me to tell him how to remediate this mold. And so I went and got certified in mold remediation to try to understand, why would a mold remediator need me to get rid of mold? This is your field. Why are you asking me? We could go back to what we talked about. You don't have to be certified.
Yep.
So they'll call me looking for answers because they're not certified. They're there to remediate the mold, but there's just no certification. I'm also certified in water restoration because once I go into a property, I want to be able to identify if something was done incorrectly. Yeah. So a lot of times you're able to tell that if somebody did a sloppy job or just not being professional. Let's face it, the typical home buyer, a serviceman could pretty much get away with a lot of things because the home buyer is just not aware of how this thing is supposed to come together. And so when they look at this system, they think everything is okay.
Yeah.
And if the person is not certified, they may have a lot of experience. And I'm not saying if they have a lot of experience, it may be better than a certification. But if you have the certification while you're gaining that experience, the experience you're gaining is you're gaining experience doing the right stuff, doing the right thing.
I like how you said you worked under your brother first and got that experience as you were getting the certifications as well, it sounds like. I just wanted to say too real quick, while people are chiming in on Facebook and listening in, you can write some questions in the comments below. We can get them passed forward to Darren to answer some specific questions. But I wanted to get on track with the home buying. So Darren, I'm a home buyer. I get into escrow, which Aaron and I are going to do a series of these videos to explain people kind of more the process of buying. But why do I spend my hard-earned money to hire you to inspect a house? Why is that important?
Well, in Southern California, the rule is every home is as is. And so if you buy, let's use small numbers. Let's say you're buying $100 property and you don't get an inspection. And let's say every system is $10, plumbing system $10, roofing $10, windows $10. And so if you look at it from that aspect, what you pay for a home inspection, you're going to pay, relatively speaking, you're going to pay maybe 25 cents. And it's not really relative, but it's an easy number for this application I'm trying to illustrate. if you take the 25 cents, you get that to me. If we got a dollar system and I realize that this system needs to be replaced, when I come to evaluate your property, I saved you. You spent 25 cents, but I saved you 75 cents. And that could apply to every system. And so there's times when I'll go to a home and it's 26 is the average number of issues on a home. No home. I challenge anyone to call me for an inspection and they say the home is perfect. That home, it does not exist. That home is no such thing. Every property will have some issues, and I would say 99 times out of 100, no, closer to 999 times out of 1,000, I would say the money you spend on that, inspection, you're going to get it back in request for repairs.
Nice, that's really well put. So can you tell us a little bit about the actual inspection process? Like how long does it take? Should a buyer be there? You know
what? I do have a reputation of being slow. So you're asking a guy that's kind of slow. Well, I'm D-top. I've bought 21 doors.
I was gonna say I'd like to say thorough. Slow equals.
Okay, there you go. I'll take thorough. I bought 21 doors personally. And I bought in homes where I paid for an inspection and never read the inspection report. So I've been taken advantage of in that sense. However, I remember the sting of once I had the property and I had all these issues. And so I don't want anybody to feel that sting. I'm not trying to pass that sting on to nobody. If I'm being used in the inspection process, I want to make sure you understand and you know what you're buying, and I don't want to miss nothing, and not anything do I want to miss. And so I'm going to take my time.
2 hours, 3 hours, depends on the
three. I would say average. I mean, if we're talking about average homes, the average home is about 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet, built in the, well, depends on what city you're in, but typically built in the 40s and the 50s. Now, if you're in really nice places in LA, believe it or not, the homes get older as opposed to getting younger. Like by the beach, it's gonna be 1920s, 1930s, in some cases, early 1900s. And so it just depends on where you're at. And of course, when you're looking at a property that has a crawl space, for one, and that's very old, number two, that property is going to have an attic. It's going to have so many places to look. It could have a detached garage. All these items add to the time of doing that inspection. Compared to a home out here in the Inland Empire that's on a slab, built in the early 2000s, you could breeze through it in an hour and a half. So it just depends on the property, the scope of work.
So Darren, real quick, just to explain to everybody listening, can you explain the difference between a raised foundation slab and what you meant there?
Yeah. So if the home is older in Southern California, I would say anything older than the 60s is typically going to have a raised foundation, which means that the home is going to sit about 2 to 3 feet off the ground. And so this is in the early in California, we didn't have a good drainage system. So they wanted to sit the homes up off the dirt. So as that rain, even though we don't get a lot of rain, we didn't know that water would just sit. It wouldn't flow through. So those homes had to be raised. And so a lot of LA homes have raised foundations. Now, if it's a newer home, because now we've improved with our drainage system in LA County and all the surrounding counties, now you're going to be on a slab, which is just a slab of concrete. It's going to have some rhubarb. It's going to be retrofitted to be able to handle an earthquake, but it's just going to be a slab of concrete similar to what you see in your driveway.
And typically the plumbing and electric, everything's going to be underneath that concrete already as they're building the house.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be in that concrete. They got to start everything. They got to stub everything in before they even lay the slab.
But not. We sold a couple new homes that you inspected last year, brand new. They had the raised foundation. Right.
Because that area by the beach is better to keep, especially if you're in a flood zone. And so a lot of times in LA, you're going to be in a flood zone. It's better to keep that home raised. And so even though you may save a lot of money doing the slab thing, you won't be doing the best thing for the property. So they're going to do what the city tells them to do. If the city say, no, we don't want you to slab that, we want you to keep that raised, it's going to be based on primarily that particular area and what kind of zone they're under. In case we get too much rain one year, say 4 weeks in a row, they want to make sure that that home is not going to be an issue. About 3 years ago, around areas by the beach, every crawl space had a foot of water in it. And if that home would have been on slab, that water would have been inside that home.
Hey, Darren, we just got a question real quick. Sorry, from Andrew Schuster. He's asking, hey guys, Darren, what do you think is one of the biggest red flags you see when you're inspecting a house?
Hey, Andrew. Hey, thanks for the question. Give me a little clarity. When you say a big red flag, are you talking about clarify? I don't want to assume.
So I think what he's trying to get at is say, like a lot of the people we work with, maybe first time home buyers, or they walk into an open house. So is there something that you could point out to them? Like I'm thinking like maybe big cracks in the wall or cracks in the foundation or stuff on the roof, or are there some big ticket items here, red flags? Meaning by that?
Okay, now I understand. So if you're buying an older property and it hasn't been remodeled, there's really no red flags to look for. You're pretty much gonna have to replace probably everything eventually. But if you're talking about a remodeled home, you want to start looking at, okay, did the flipper or did the developer, did they take their time, or did they just put lipstick on a pig? So a lot of things you could see right away is, look at that roof. If the roof looks new, they may have spent a decent amount of money taking care of the property. You look at the roof, you look at the windows. If they didn't change the windows and they're flipping it, then it's a lot of shortcuts they probably would have made. The same thing with the roof. And if it has a new hot water heater, which is hidden. Now, understand, no one can really sell a home based on a new hot water heater. Usually when a person go to look at a home, they never look at the hot water heater. They just won't do it. And so if the person selling the property actually changed that hot water heater, they probably changed a lot of other things that you were not looking at. And you're not going to lose. If you change the hot water heater, you're not going to get that money back. You can leave that same old hot water heater, and the person loved the home. They were not really cared that the hot water heater is new. As long as it produces hot water, they're going to keep that purchase going. I've never heard of someone walking away because the hot water heater was too old. Right. So with that being said, and that's what I mean. If you change the hot water heater knowing that you can't get any extra bucks for this, you probably changed a lot of other things where you was actually concerned about the person that's buying the home or the quality of the work that you do and that you put your name to.
That's a great point. Wait, just to go back to what you said a minute ago. So if you're buying a house, I mean, there's obviously a lot of houses here in LA, older houses from the 20s, 30s, 40s. Some of them still sit on good bones though, right? So
the best.
A lot of them still sit on a lot of, like you said, termite companies we work with that they prefer some of the older homes. So you said that you're going to have to replace a lot of the things anyway. So I just want you to expand upon that.
Okay, so yeah, the homes, you want the home is going to keep its bones. This lath and plaster, it's going to still be on that crawl space. You're going to want them to add some positive connections. But when it comes to the windows, if you can't have your older windows reworked, you probably be better off changing them for efficiency purposes, and it just really makes the home pop when you change windows. Other systems, doors, of course. If you got an older home, 1920, your door is probably going to be a very attractive door, and you're probably not going to want to swap that out for a new door. But who knows? Now, when you as you go through each system, and you're trying to decide, okay, do I really want to buy this home? Is this home worth it? This home is the character is here, and that's a lot of times when you buy an older home, that's what you want the home to keep its character. But I see a lot of times in LA, they do modernize the home or make them contemporary, and they look very attractive as well. So whether you want to keep a craftsman style home, if any, Andrew, if you know what that is, man, that home looks beautiful when it's just, and I shouldn't have said replaced, because you could have that stuff reworked. And then once you have it reworked and renovated, then it could be as it was when it was new. And that's good wood. You're talking about good bones. You're talking about a beautiful home.
So
only thing you'll probably have to completely replace would be that roof.
That's what I think. When you're saying the red flags, like the big ticket items, can you tell us what some of the big ticket items are then we're looking at?
Well, of course, in older homes, if you don't have copper plumbing or PEX, which is plastic, if you have galvanized plumbing, then you could plan to spend thousands of dollars to update that plumbing. If you have cloth, electrical, or the screw-in fuses that are really old, you probably gonna have to change the electrical system, and you have to change that panel. If you have wood shingles on your roof, that's not allowed in California. So that means that roof is very, very old. You're gonna have to change that. And so it's a few things that you'll be able to see right away that, yeah, I buy this property. I'm gonna have to change this. I'm gonna have to swap this out. And those are three of the main things. Everything else you could keep in place. You could work it right in. You can't really mess with the electrical and the plumbing and the roof. Those things really got to go. Another thing is how the home is being heated and cooled. Of course, this has an old HVAC system from the 50s. Then you probably gonna have to change that. Not probably.
Definitely gonna need to take care of that.
Or if you have a hot water heater that's from the 50s, it's time to go.
Mm-hmm.
Hot water heater from the 50s, you're lucky. That thing lasted you a long time.
Yeah. And the next one you buy, you won't be that lucky, believe me.
Okay, so to go along with those lines, then what are some of the common things that you see in inspections? You kind of the big things, but are there some little items that you see all the time that?
Probably the most common thing that I see in a home is a defective diverter. The diverter is what switches in your tub from your tub faucet to your shower. And so that's what diverter does. It takes the water from the faucet up to the shower. And so the most common thing is it's not choking on the water off. So a lot of water is being wasted through the faucet. And that is probably the most common thing. Another common thing is the plate and the pin on the door is not lining up. And so in all the doors, you may have a door that you could just push open because the pin is not going into the striker. The striker pin is not going into the plate. And so, and another thing, of course, is outlets. To have 100% of your outlets fired and wired the way they're supposed to, that's very uncommon.
So of those things that you just mentioned, are any of those big enough items that you think somebody should potentially walk away from it? Or are those like quick fix, don't even stress about it?
You know what? And that's why it's important as a home inspector, kind of get a feel of who the buyer is. Mm-hmm. So if I grew up in a $10 million home and everything stayed perfect, then yeah, we got to deal with all this stuff, because this stuff is going to irritate you. But if you grew up in a regular way where maintenance just happened around a home, which is typical, these are very, as far as money go, these items are even a leak. As long as you deal with the leak right away, these are not expensive items. They're just maintenance items, and you could keep moving. You shouldn't stop or even hesitate buying. You really don't like the home if because of those things you don't want to buy it.
Yeah, I know you said earlier that you see the average is usually around 26 items. I know that when we've done inspections in the past, there's been a list of like upwards of 50 at a time. And sometimes that can be really intimidating for a buyer. So like, is there any way, I know you talked about the big ticket items being the electrical, the roof, the plumbing. Are there any, I guess, are there any other, the little things, they don't really matter, but is there anything else that's really big that they should really take attention to, like that you would maybe call an expert out for?
Wow. Okay, that's an excellent question. Uh, but I can't answer it until I get to that house. And so, yeah, there's going to be times. There are certain things that automatically I'm going to ask for a specialist. If I go in the crawl space and I see a crack bigger than a 1/4 inch wide, or it changes levels, I'm going to request a foundation specialist to have a look at this home. If I walk inside and the floor is not level, and I can feel that it has I can feel that the ground has settled, I'm probably going to recommend a foundation guy. 100 out of 100 times I'm going to recommend a chimney expert if you have a chimney. If I see some issues with the chimney, it's going to be a hard recommend. If I don't see any issues, I'm still going to recommend it, but it just won't be as hard of a recommend. Instead of writing in red, I'll probably write it in blue, kind of soften the blow for you. But it's still recommended that you have the chimney, because I'm not seeing up the flue. And it's always, you want to have it maintained. So typically out here in California, those are one of the items that we neglect as homeowners. We never get chimney inspections during the course while we own the property. So just like you get your car detailed, you need to get that chimney inspected. And most people ignore it and they don't get it done. So it's better just to, especially since it's changing titles, and let's get that chimney inspected, because you're going to ignore it just like everybody else once you have it.
And
yeah,
keep going.
Another item would be the roof. We neglect the roofs, guys, in California. We just don't get enough rain. The roofer should be maintaining that roof at least once every 2 years. Of course, once you see that roof fail, it's too late. Now you have issues. If you have a roofer that's maintaining your roof, you're going to save yourself a huge headache. Plumbing. Pipes leak. In Southern California, there's a water loss every minute. So pipes leak. And so it's certain things about a home that you have to make sure you're maintaining it. So you're looking out for certain things. You're not oblivious in your home. You're making sure you're looking at your pipes. You open up the cabinet and looking for a little small drip. Any water. You shouldn't see any water around your pipes at all whatsoever.
I'll tell you another one that we always recommend that I would say I'll never let a home buyer buy without checking the sewer line.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in LA. Now, see, in Inland Empire, Orange County, it's a little bit different, but Los Angeles County, I don't understand why anyone would buy a home without having that sewer line inspected. The inspection may run you $400 tops. I don't charge that, but I'm just saying on average. I shouldn't say tops. On average, it's going to run you about $400. If there's an issue with that sewer line, that's probably going to be a $4,000 save for you,
or more.
Minimum.
And $12,000 for plumbers.
Yeah, you start getting up to 12 and 20,000. It's crazy not to check that sewer line. No one can see it. The seller hasn't seen that sewer line.
Darren, how do you check that? Explain to them how you do that for everybody.
Oh, so you need a video camera, and personally, I have a few of them. But you scope it. You put your video camera in there, and you start at the clean out, and the camera actually goes the same way the sewage would go. So you get to see the inside of the line, and you can see the materials, and you can see the condition from the inside.
Yeah, everybody at home, to the clean out, typically outside the house, on the side or the front yard, sometimes in the back or under the house. A lot of the older houses don't have them, so that's one of the first things when you're walking around an open house with Aaron and I on a private showing. We can also look to see if there's a clean out. If there's not a clean out, you can go up on the roof sometimes, put it through a vent, or take off a toilet. We've had to do that with Darren as well. But just to explain what that clean out is too, it makes it easier to clean out the sewer line if there is a backup. So we look for that as well in these houses. But keep going, Darren. Keep telling them how you do that.
Yeah. A clean out is absolutely mandatory in LA County. You're just going to pay more money to have the line serviced if you don't have a clean out. It takes about $400 to add a clean out, so it's not expensive to add one. And the line needs to be maintained just like everything else. And maintenance comes before you see an issue. If you see an issue, it's no longer maintenance. Now it's repair. And so the whole idea is maintain the line. Let's not get to seeing an issue and then turn it into, okay, now we got to repair the line.
And a lot of times we see in the sewer line roots from the trees getting in there. A lot of the old sewer lines in LA are clay, which still work, but the roots get in and they block it up and they back up the sewage. So what Darren's talking about with maintenance is the plumbers will come in with a hydro jet and shoot high powered water in there and clean it out for you.
Yeah, because of course, I'm saying of course, like you guys should know, but the roots to a tree, they start off really thin, like say, the size of a piece of thread, and works its way through a seam in that pipe. But now that it's getting the nutrients from that pipe, that root system is going to get thicker. And if you don't get it out of there, it's going to eventually crack that pipe. Before it cracks it, it's going to clog that line. And so if you see that you have a clogged line and you call a Drano service, unless you really clean the line, like Devin mentioned, the hydrojet, that's like washing dishes with that water. It really scours the pipe. Now the snake is going to leave that root system inside that pipe. And so it may hurt the root system, but as soon as that snake is out of there, it has the nutrients to go right back, bigger, stronger, and thicker than ever. And so it could eventually just crack that pipe. And so it's better if just imagine if it's a thread root and you're maintaining that every 2 years, that root never has an opportunity to cause a lot of damage to your pipe. But if you let it go 4, 5, 6 years, that root is going to get healthy and it's going to be tough to deal with. And that's a lot of attraction for LA, the vegetation.
Yeah, it's definitely worth taking care of that sewer line inspection and making sure that that's in a good shape. You said that the average probably is about $400 for a sewer line inspection around.
No. Yeah. Okay.
So you talked about like a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,500 square foot house. What would the general inspection cost for something like that?
Once again, see, it's the scope of work, Aaron.
Yeah.
If it's a brand new property and everything is, when I say brand new, built in 1920s, but they almost tore it down and left up one wall, and they rebuilt it from the floor up. That's going to be a little bit easier inspection, you would think. However, you don't know. You know the old home, it was built to last.
Mm-hmm.
This home, you don't know what this person has done to change some things to cause this home to not be as good as it was when it was older. So those are kind of things you got to consider. A lot of times you could tell by looking at it on the internet, will this be a big scope of work? You try to figure out, okay, did the person who did this, by looking at the pictures, did they really care? Did they really have a heart for the property, or did they just throw lipstick on a pig? And so looking at it, and then you have properties that are just horrible, but it may be investment type, and the person really don't care about all the little stuff. They don't care that the doorknob is missing. They don't care that a window is not going to open and close, and they're going to change the windows. Mm-hmm. They're more concerned about the big money items. And in that case, the inspection is going to cost a little bit less. And so it just depends on. So if you're going to pay more if you're a brand new home buyer, not brand new, it don't matter your expertise. If you're buying a home that's newly remodeled, you're probably going to pay a little extra because your expectation for that home, let's face it, everybody knows when something is new, I need it to be perfect.
Yeah. So do you
That's
mean
the expectation?
like $1,000 or like
no?
$500?
Oh yeah. Well, I've a 1,500 square foot home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, on average is going to run you around $500 in LA.
There you go.
There you go. That sounds.
That's a long-winded answer. So wait, I'm getting blown up here with questions. I'm getting blown up. People are interested here. So Jackie Pickles was asking. This is a good question. We were going to start with this one actually earlier on. So she asked, "Is there anything that you don't look at as an inspector?" So you kind of touched on. Do you, if I can kind of phrase that, do you go under the house? Do you go on the roof? Do you walk through the garage, the outside? And if so, what do you not do? Can you touch on all those points?
Jackie, that is a great question. That's probably the most popular question. Me now all boards are different as far as their approach go. We're not required to get on the roof. I'm going to check that roof. We're not required to get on it because, of course, it could be a safety issue, and if I fall off that roof, then that's going to be a bad deal. So people don't fall and slip on purpose. So,
but you personally do go up there
if I can, as long as I deem it's safe and I feel comfortable up there, I'm going to do it. Now, if I'm not comfortable getting on the roof, there are a couple of roofs I got on where I wished I wouldn't have got on them, and was afraid to get off, to tell you the truth. But I also have a drone. And so if I can't get on it personally, I'll send my drone up there to take a look at that roof. Same thing with the crawl space. I'm going to go into the crawl space. Now, sometimes the opening is too small and I may not could get in there. I have a drone for that as well. But I'm going to get a look at that crawl space. And so the only thing that I don't check in the house is that flue up the chimney. I have the tools to check it, but I'm not certified and I'm not trained on checking chimneys. So it's just better for me not even have a look, because actually I may grow confident in checking it, but I'm not comfortable doing anything without being certified to do it. Even though it's no requirement, but me personally, I'm just not comfortable checking something unless I'm certified to inspect it.
Jackie said that that's really cool that you have a drone to check out on the roof. And then she also wrote earlier when you were talking about the pigs at houses, she said, "Hey, pigs are cute." Well, yeah, to kind of answer that question too, Jackie. So Darren usually.
But like a home, if you associate a home with a pig, you don't want your home to stink. Pig may be cute, but it don't smell that good.
That's right. So when Darren gets to the house, usually one of the first things he does is he turns on all the water. He turns on the bathtubs and the sinks, and he runs the water so that when he goes underneath, he can check to see if any of the pipes are leaking, if there's any extra moisture under there. So that's how he's able to check the plumbing. One of the other things, just to point out, one of the things that he doesn't check, which if you see some traces of mold or you want to see something inside the walls, we are allowed to check them. We have to get permission from the seller. So you're not allowed to take a hammer and start beating up somebody's house before you have permission from the seller.
Now, and with that, man, that's I'm glad you brought that up. Now in California, you can't open up a wall without getting it tested for asbestos. And asbestos is a governed material by California. So you have to have a license to open up that wall, or you got to have it checked for asbestos first. And you need a license for that. And now if it already has a hole, then I could go for what I know. I'm actually certified mold guy. So you could order a mold evaluation when you order the regular inspection. Just like you could order a sewer line inspection, you order a general inspection, you also order a mold inspection. And then you're knocking out all three.
Nice.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And Jackie said, well, at what point, this is all from Jackie, I know we got some other questions here too from some other viewers, but she said, at what point do we do the inspection? So that's something Aaron could answer too as well.
Yeah, so we do the inspection. We try to do it immediately. As soon as we get the accepted offer and we get the word that we're opening escrow, we pretty much immediately contact inspectors to try and set at least the general inspection for the next couple of days. The sooner the better, because of something called an inspection contingency that we have. which is a negotiable time frame. We can get more into that later, but the most important thing is to get the general inspection done immediately, so that if we need to call an HVAC specialist, if we need to call a foundation specialist, that we have time to put those in, to make those appointments as well and have people come out in a timely manner.
That's
Yeah,
great.
Jackie, what Aaron said.
There you go. There you go. So Aaron Traeger asked, are there anything that home sellers, I'd say, can do to prepare their house for the inspections before they're happening?
You know what? If you're selling a home and you can move out, that'll be the best bet. If you can move out and you get a pre-inspection and you follow the direction of the listing agent, that person is an expert at what they do, and they can really prepare that home for sale. If you want to stay in it, it makes it a little more difficult, especially during the inspection process. But so if you're going to stay in it, you want to stay in it, you'll do yourself a good service by getting a pre-inspection before you sell it, because now you'll get ahead of what the next inspector could possibly find. Just to be clear, if you bring in 10 inspectors to a property, you're probably going to get 10 different opinions. Similar to if you go to 10 different doctors, they're going to have 10 different things that they're going to say with regards to your health. That they may. Let me be specific. I had a pain in my shoulder, and my doctor, they didn't think there was anything wrong with me, so they sent me to a specialist, and that person didn't think there was anything wrong, so they sent me to another specialist, and that person found the issue, because I knew it was something wrong because I had pain in my shoulder. It's similar to a home inspector. We're not gonna, we may not view things the same way, and we're gonna find different things. So if you get a pre-home inspection, you're gonna handle at least that leaky diverter. At least you'll know to take care of that. At least you'll know to take care of all the common things that are found in a home. And so once the buyer comes with their inspector, they shouldn't come with any surprises like you need to change the roof because you already had that checked out. Oh, you need to change your plumbing. You already know it's copper. You need to change your windows because you already had a pre-inspection. You already know your windows are tight. And so if you have a pre-inspection, you'll save yourself a lot of time and grief when it comes to the end of the deal and it's time to negotiate. You already know what's wrong with your property. And if you put that all in the disclosures, there's no surprises. And that person is not freaked out when they hear something's wrong because you already told them before they even start looking.
Exactly. It's a great tool to use in a negotiation when you're putting your house on the market. If you already have that inspection, it's something you can send to potential buyers and be like, hey, this is what the property is like. We had it inspected already. So knowing this, do you want to move forward, kind of thing?
Yeah, I was just going to say that's actually something that Aaron and I offer when we represent the sellers of a property is we take care of the home inspection. We have an inspector come out and do that beforehand because then we have it ready to go. If there's any minor issues that we can take care of with the handyman, just to take care of those, then we can send them to the buyers and we can say, hey, look, these are already taken care of. This is some red ticket. These are some items, some red flag items, maybe some, like we were saying earlier, some high money, bigger items that we could take care of, or they take that in consideration in the asking price, the offering price. But then it's all out there on the table, and we can use that to negotiate, get the biggest and the highest money possible for our sellers. And then it's a smoother escrow. There's no headache in the middle of the escrow.
Yeah, there's no big surprises that come up, which is always what you're trying to avoid. Darren, quick question. Somebody sees a crack in the foundation when they're walking through an open house. Should they run away from the house immediately?
Not in Southern California. The dirt is too expensive. Believe it or not, that home that you're buying it's not as valuable as that dirt that home is sitting on. So if you see a crack in the foundation, remember, everything can repair. There's not an issue that you're going to see that can't be handled with money. It's just really that simple. And so you shouldn't really tie any emotion to it. So if you see, oh, okay, there's a crack there, that might be some money right there. Oh, okay, we see a crack in the window. We know we have to change that pane. It's certain things you're going to see, you're going to have to change that or deal with that. But guess what? You don't own the property. So the beauty of it is that's that seller's problem. And once you discovered it, they're going to have to disclose that to the next buyer. So now they got to decide, okay, do they want to negotiate with you, or they want to take their luck with somebody that they don't even knows about this issue and is willing to discuss it. So you got a in-hand buyer. You've seen the crack. Your inspector called out the crack. Seller, can you deal with that crack for me, please? And then we can keep going.
That's right. Yeah. Aaron and I mean, we could touch on that too, but after we get back all the inspections from Darren as the general, maybe a plumber, a foundation, termite, all the people that can come out, we can renegotiate with the sellers, and we can either get a credit to cover some of your closing costs as buyers. We can lower the purchase price, or we can ask the seller to take care of some of the issues. We can do all three of those, kind of mix and match that. It's been a competitive market right now. It's been tough for buyers because there's not very many homes for sale. So sometimes the buyers will just say, like Darren mentioned, hey, the house is so valuable and the dirt is so valuable that, you know what, we only want you to cover this, or we only want this much of a price reduction, and we'll do the rest, because we know that once we fix that, the house is going to be so valuable here in LA, we want to do it anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Devin. I missed my thought, but it's something that's very, very common. I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna think about it, because I was thinking about it when you were speaking, but I got so interested I lost that thought.
No worries. So Rachel just chimed in and she said, who schedules the inspections? Aaron, you want to?
Sure. Yeah. So usually when we open escrow, we'll send you an opening escrow email that kind of goes through the next steps. And in that email, we'll recommend a handful, 2 or 3 inspectors that you can research, you can look into. And then most of the time, it's better if the client themselves calls to schedule the inspection. But it is something that we are comfortable doing for you once you have looked at the options. And you can choose anybody you want. So you don't have to choose somebody that we recommend. The reason that we recommend them is because we've done lots of business with them. And we wouldn't want to put you in a predicament by using somebody that we didn't know.
Yeah, and I was going to say, normally we book it. I'll text Darren, or I'll say, hey, are you available? And we try and do as much work as possible for our clients. And then we'll text everybody, hey, it's Tuesday at 10 work. Okay, no, how about 11:30? But we just try to take care of it right away because time is of the essence in these deals. Right now, just to answer another question we had, inspection period when we open escrow is usually 7 to 10 days in LA right now. When it's more of a buyer's market, it could be closer to 17 days. But we try and get these things done really quickly, and we're comfortable with that. We've done that many times. We'll get Darren out on the very first day we open escrow sometimes.
Yeah. Going back to that previous question, you mentioned termites, Devin.
Oh yeah, we go. Yeah.
And that's something. If you're in Southern California, you get a termite swarm every single April. You have to get a termite inspection if you're buying a home in Southern California. Just like you want to get a sewer line inspection in LA County, you want to get a termite inspection. That's typically going to be on the seller. Typically, that's what caught my attention when you mentioned termites earlier, and something I'm going to always recommend. Just like I recommend a chimney guy and a sewer line inspection, I'll definitely recommend a termite inspection. And if you can, very few of them have it, the certification to check fencing. But if you got a wood fence and it's an older home, if that termite guy can have a look at that fence for you and estimate for you the replacement costs or repair costs, then that's going to be an advantage during the negotiation process.
Yeah, and there are companies that'll do those for free. We know a couple of them that'll come and do the inspection for free, which is great. And then they'll let you know, like, this is what it's going to cost to tent it, or this is what it's going to cost to do spot treatment and stuff like that. And like Darren said, we use that in negotiation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I got somebody actually texted me a question right here. So hold on 1 second, I'm pulling it up. Will the inspector give me estimates on some of the repair costs?
I can at an additional fee, but I typically don't like to because I really think it comes down to an integrity thing. All I'm doing is Google the prices. That's it. It's now with the internet. If I could spend a certain amount of time looking up certain issues, certain items for that area, and I could come up with an estimate that you could do your own self. I'm going to be expensive if I do it. I'm charging $100 for that. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to not spend that money and say, look, I'm going to teach you how to do it, show you how to do it, give you some names of some people that you could call to kind of stay out your pocket. This is a time where I would think that you want to keep every penny that you can.
Great answer. That's a great answer. Yeah, just to kind of go along with that too. I mean, if there's a bigger item it's kind of tough without knowing the house and the examples themselves. But some of the we'll say smaller issues, Aaron and I have sent lists to handymen that we know, or handyman companies that we know, and they'll provide, hey, we think this will take us between 1, 2, 3 hours. Here's our hourly rate. For some of the bigger items, usually we'll have a company come out anyway. If it's what'd you say, a quarter, bigger than a quarter inch or a half inch in the foundation?
Quarter inch.
So if it's bigger than a quarter inch, we'll have a foundation expert come out and they'll give a quote for fixing the foundation. Or like Aaron just mentioned, the termite company will give a quote for us. But that's a great question.
And then off the top of my head, I'm going to know what you're going to pay for a panel or roundabout plumbing, a new roof. Those kind of items are easy to estimate, but then again, it depends on the area. If it's a really expensive area, then those servicemen in that area, they know the quality of the products being used have to be higher. So you're probably going to pay a little bit more. So it just depends on the area you're in and the materials that's going to be used to put that system together.
Right. So we got a question. You kind of answered it earlier, but certified mold guy, you said. So as far as certifications, are there companies that do certifications for general inspectors? I know you said that you don't have to get it, but are there companies that you can look for?
Yeah, I belong to Internachi. It's an international company. Not international company. It's the company right here in the United States. So it's a nationwide company. And there are several companies that certify home inspectors. And so the main thing you want to look at is the standard of practice. When you were certified, what is your standard of practice? What are you going to look at? And a lot of times you get right down to the nitty gritty and you ask the inspector, hey, can you send me over a copy of if you want to know what he's going to inspect, you ask him to send you over a copy of his standards of practice. And you'll know exactly each system, what he's going to inspect with that system. I mean, let's face it, a lot of times you're not going to want to read through that. It's going to be many pages long. But if you're interested in a certain system and you want to know if the inspector is going to inspect the plumbing and how he's going to inspect the plumbing, you might could just go to the standard of practice, go straight to the plumbing system, and you could read up on, okay, this is what he's going to do with the plumbing because I got concern about the plumbing. Or if you got concerns about the roof, you could go to the roof section. Okay, this is what he's going to inspect on the roof. Because typically when you go to a home, and I hope I'm not talking too fast, but typically when you go to a home, you're going to see it, and it's going to be possibly some concerns on a couple of systems that you may have. And that's what I find is typical when people call me. They'll say, hey, Darren, are you going to inspect this? Because I don't know about that. Because they've seen that item in the home. And so you'll begin to have certain emotion when you come to look at a certain system because you just don't know if that thing, you don't like that part of the house. So you want to make sure that inspector is paying really close attention to that. And to know how they're going to evaluate that system, the standards of practice is going to tell you.
There you go. We got Aaron Traeger asked another question. So he said, Darren, if we're buying a house, what would you look at first, and what would you not worry about at all personally if you saw something? Is there an answer that you can give for that one?
Yeah, this is one I can't get wrong. Okay, so well, the first thing I'm going to look at is the roof. The roof keeps the house dry. It's going to protect it from the harsh rain when it rains, it could do the most damage. Fire and water could do the most damage. So that roof is very, very important. That's the first thing I look at. It gives me a good idea when I get into the house, to where if I see certain issues when it comes to the roof, I know when I get actually into the interior of the house and I look up at the ceilings, it's going to make sense if I start seeing stains that, okay, when I was on the roof, I already was this roof in this area was suspect to me anyway. And now I see the stain. It's kind of going to confirm some things for me. So I like to get on the roof, and then I like to turn on all the water. I like to I try to flood that house up, and I've done it. So unfortunate, but hey, that's part of it. I'd rather flood it out when they're trying to sell it, as opposed to you flood it out and the first day you're in it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to run that water. I'm going to check that roof first. The things I wouldn't be concerned about is a leak, a pipe leak. A lot of people are really nervous behind pipe leaks. As long as you take care of that water issue, the issue is not the leak itself. It's very minor, fixed plumbing leaks. But if you let it go unchecked, that's when it becomes an issue. So I wouldn't worry about a leak. I'm only worried about the damage around the leak that it caused. I wouldn't be concerned about having an outlet that's not correctly wired. It's just, it doesn't cost enough money for me to have an electrician come in there and just swap out that whole outlet. I'm not going to be concerned about that diverter, even though it's so common. That little water I'm going to waste during a home, it's no way I'm walking away from a home because of that.
The diverter, again, he mentioned it earlier, but it's the item in the bathtub that you pull up to make the water go up out of your shower head versus to fill up your bathtub.
And just to be totally transparent, when it comes to the dirt in California, once again, that's what's value. I'm probably, if I'm in a position to buy the home from a financial standpoint, I'm probably not going to be nervous about nothing. I really won't, because the equity, you become rich buying this LA real estate. And so
we didn't pay Darren. We didn't pay Darren to say that part.
Just imagine you pass on a home because it had $5,000. It needed new plumbing and it was going to cost you $5,000. I don't want to deal with that. I'm out. Well, guess what? A year later, you're probably going to get $20,000 in equity. So I want to see the investments you can make in the stock market. I'm pretty sure you can get lucky and do something like that. Or maybe go to Vegas and hit them for a good deal of money. But man, the way the equity grows in Los Angeles County, you could repair anything as long as you're going to get that equity in the home. It will repair itself. The home you're not going to lose buying this real estate. And so to walk away over anything almost, if you get an opportunity to buy it, you're walking away from an investment. I wouldn't look at it from an emotional standpoint at all. I'm looking at the numbers. What is going to cost me to fix it? If I'm spending $1.5 million for this house, why are we talking about a $5,000 plumbing system? It just doesn't make sense. I'm not worried about that. I got a $1.5 million home. That home is going to give me $30,000 in equity in a year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. Like Darren, obviously, like he said, has bought, 21 houses, 21 doors in your life. So he's saying this out of experience. Aaron and I work with a lot of first-time home buyers, and a lot of these things can be nerve-wracking. You're spending a lot of money to buy a house, and we want to make sure you're getting the best house possible for the best deal possible. And we're going to try and fight to get the sellers to pay for these things. But at the same time, what Darren's saying has a lot of truth to it. If you're comfortable with some of these, there's going to be issues with every house, whether they're brand new or remodeled, right? And if you're comfortable being a homeowner, then you could be comfortable doing some of these repairs, and the long-term benefit's amazing, especially in LA. So I
was going to say, and a lot of the big ticket things that may have cost a lot of money, you get them fixed right the first time. You don't have to worry about that for another 10, 20 years, sometimes more.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I remember there was one transaction we did with Darren recently where I thought the buyer, he came out and he started listing all these things wrong. And I thought the buyer was going to get scared, and his eyes started to get kind of big. And Darren said, listen, if you're not ready to fix some of these small items, I don't know if you're ready to buy a house. because this house is ready to go. I remember you said that because they were, they weren't big ticket items. They were, and the guy said, okay, yeah, you're right. Well, we can take care of this. I am ready to be a homeowner. And it was exciting. So we got another question here from Donald. Donald Cleveland, what are some things a homeowner can do to maintain their homes? This is a good one. So this is for a homeowner who owns a house. What are some things they can do to maintain the house as they're living there?
Now, Donald, you personally, thanks for that. That's a great question. Walk it every 6 months. You want to walk the exterior. Look for any bubbles on that paint. If you got panel, you want to go ahead and sand that and repaint that as soon as possible. Fascia, you want to look at your fascia and you want to sand that and repaint that. Walk around with a small bucket of paint, a little sandpaper, and you're looking for maintenance issues around your home every 6 months. You're also going to want to contract a roofer for every 2 years. Come back and look at your roof. You want to contract a chimney guy every 3 to 4 years. You want to have him come back and sweep your chimney. Vegetation, you want to make sure you keep the vegetation away from your structure, at least 12 inches. Let it grow back to 6 and tell your landscaper, look, keep this stuff off my house. Cut it back every 12 inches and grow back 6, cut it back 12 again. And vines growing up your walls, vines consuming your wood fence. I know that stuff is attractive, but it's going to attack wood. And it's going to be a haven for termites. And if you got a lot of vegetation, you're going to have rodents hiding in that vegetation, causing havoc on your exterior structure or your fence. And so those are a lot of things that are going to be good as far as maintenance go. It wouldn't hurt you to turn on all your water. You don't have to necessarily crawl under the house, but to turn on all your water and take a peek underneath and see if you see any drips, any streams coming down. Those
put a flashlight down and
yeah, because because it's dark, and then when you flash your flashlight, that water is gonna mirror off that light, and it'll catch your eye, and then you'll see that you have a leak under there. You wanna look for leak. Be proactive. Look, put your hand under your kitchen sink every 6 months to make sure you don't have any moisture under there. You want to make sure that your dishwasher is not leaky. You want to run your dishwasher a minimum of once a month, because the gaskets needs to stay moist. And if you don't run it, they're going to dry out, and then you're going to have leaks. And so you want to be looking at the bottom of your dishwasher, make sure you don't have any leaks there. Like I said, in the cabinets, under the bathrooms, put your hand under there and make sure you don't have any leaks under there. Your filter, don't buy the $6-8 filter for your HVAC system. That thing is not going to help really with what it's supposed to do. It's spend a little more money on that thing, but it hurts me to spend $40 on my filter, but at the same time, the health of your family for that $40 is going to be well worth it.
Nice.
Yeah, very good question, man. So Darren, if we've been at this for an hour now, I know we've answered a lot of questions here for people. It's flown by for me. Is there anything that we haven't talked or touched on that you'd like to mention? Anything else that you'd like to say as a part of the general inspection process?
Yeah, I would say when you look for a home, be realistic. Don't set your expectation. The hardest thing is for you to find a property, a location, and a home that you love. The thing that I don't like the most about this particular job is to do inspections for the same family 2 and 3 times. So they hear too many issues and they walk away and they go to another house, and I'm doing an inspection. And then a lot of times I hear, man, we should have bought that first house. Once you love a house, once you see a house that you like and you love, you want to buy it, you don't want to be talked out of that, because it's going to be another person going to get that house, and then they're going to get all that equity that you're walking away from, and then they're going to be the one that's married to that home, and that home is going to be great for them. So set your expectation with when you see a home and you know it's a 1920s home and it's in LA, and you look around your neighborhood and you see, if you happy buy that home. Don't walk away with 5, 10 grand. I mean, it's easy for me to say that, but I'm speaking to the equity, what I know that dirt is worth. You got to figure out a way to not let that bother you, because the next home is going to have an issue too. So you don't want to buy this home because they don't want to give you a credit for the roof, and you got to spend 12 grand 12 grand to replace the roof. The next home you look at, oh, they got a brand new roof, but they need new windows and new doors. That's 12 grand. You just swap one set of 12 grand for another set of 12 grand. But the first one, you liked it better anyway, but you walked away because of that roof. So keep in mind things like that. If you like the home, you like where it's at, that's the home that it really should not make sense to buy it if you walk away at that point. It gotta really not make sense for you. You gotta say, nah, this just doesn't make sense to buy it.
That's a great point. I like that.
Yeah, well, we just want to thank you so much for joining us, Darren. Again, this is Darren Mars, PPG Inspectors. You can check out his Google his name. He's got great reviews, some of them from our clients that use him to buy houses. And Yelp, PPG Inspectors. This is Aaron Bernbach. I'm Devin McNichol. We're doing this really real estate information series. We're getting real with real estate information all across the board. Thank you, Darren, again, for being our first guest.
Thanks, Darren. Appreciate it.
Y'all could be the Stephen A. and y'all could be the first take of real estate right there.
But yeah, and we'll post another video here. I don't know, coming up next week probably. And thanks again, Darren. Everybody stay safe, be healthy. Much love to everybody.
Hey, thanks for joining, guys. I appreciate the questions. Good home shopping. Use these guys. Hard for the buyer.
Thanks, Darren. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot, Darren. Take care, everybody. Thanks again.
Take care.